Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of Getting Live with Lyndall Keith, the Opportunity Podcast. On this podcast, we talk about turning obstacles into opportunities. I always have really cool guests on the show. I want to hear about things that they went through in their development process and how they dealt with crisis or issues in their life to overcome and achieve and push through. And I thought this episode, it would be very fitting to talk about social responsibility, the importance of giving back, different ways that you can give back in your community, and how you can make a total difference. My guest today is Nick Marino, and Nick Marino is Chief Marketing Officer of a couple different companies. He's got another company that's a media company that started off as a blog and transitioned into doing consulting with NFL players and professional athletes and helping them with endorsement deals and doing a number of really cool things. But at the heart of it, every single thing that he does has a social responsibility piece. And they have a new movement that they're starting that I think the website launches next week. That's all about how businesses can adopt a sustainable giving back model that's part of their natural business. So their natural way of doing things gives back to the community, so they don't have to rack their brains with how can I give back, or try to make a decision here to donate this amount of money to this particular charity. And it's just so cool to see. I've had the pleasure of being a part of several of Nick and one of his companies Feed the City events, and they do a lot of huge gatherings of people making bag lunches for people in the community. It's just exploded into a really cool app called Tangotab, and the history of that company is really awesome. So he goes over that in this episode, and just a really, really, really awesome guy. And I had the opportunity to produce a video for them at one point in time, several years back. I think it was in 2016. And just to see how much they've grown and how much they care about making an impact in the lives of others is just awesome. So really excited about this guest. Everybody tune in, listen, enjoy. We talk about some really cool stuff, and I want to welcome Nick Marino. Nick, welcome to the show, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to jump on. What's going on, buddy?
Nothing much. Just trying to survive the day to day, I guess you can say, in the times that we're in.
Yeah, days are interesting. Everywhere I go, it's I go to Target or the grocery store or whatever, and everybody's got masks on, but they're still standing 6 inches apart with no gloves. I'm confused.
Right. Definitely.
I don't understand. What's your take on the mask craze with no gloves and people still breathing on each other in the grocery store? How does that work?
I'll take a stance. I don't think it's a political stance. I am all for masks. I also take in consideration of my parents and with them, and they both have underlying issues. My dad with from his breathing standpoint. For my mom, she had a stroke in 2012, so I just take into consideration my safety is also concerning to them. I know I'm younger and I'm healthy and everything, but I just want to take in other well-beings prior based on my decisions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the main things that really kind of tipped me over to the realization of, the crisis that we're really facing, the need of respirators and the shortness of respirators. And, if the hospitals get clogged up with this, then people with other issues won't be able to get seen right away. So it was that thought and that image in my mind that was the thing that kind of put me in a mindset of, okay, this is necessary. This is people that are screaming about having their rights violated and stuff like that. I'm like, come on, dude. Really? Yeah. We're free in America. You can't tell me to wear a mask.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I look at is two different countries. One is Japan, who already has a culture of wearing masks during certain instances, right? And then one of their first mandates was that everyone had to wear a mask, right? So, I mean, people will say, well, I have my freedom and stuff, but yet we have seatbelts in place from a driving perspective, right? So you must wear
Yeah.
your seatbelt or you're going to get a ticket. So I look at that end, and then also you look at Sweden on the other side of the spectrum that said, hey, you know what? We're going to go ahead and let everyone live or their life just regular with no mask or anything, no closures, and just keep it going. And you look at their numbers from a percentage base of how it's affected their society compared to a Japan, and the numbers are completely different. Japan's one of the best countries that are dealing with this, and Sweden is probably the worst, right? So I was like, okay, why can't we just wear masks for a couple weeks, right? Everyone, like, let's actually flatten the curve as not just as a society but as a country. But it's an election year, so things divide us a lot easier
Oh
these
yeah.
days.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if COVID went away in January.
Right.
It's funny you said the seatbelt thing. My wife said the exact same thing yesterday. She used that analogy yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at one point when we're kids, pretty much everybody says they either want to be, well, boys especially, they want to be a policeman or they want to be a doctor when they grow up. Well, let's just pretend like, we're doctors and we'll throw on some masks and, it'll all be
Well,
good.
I think that's the biggest problem is that everyone is pretending that they're doctors because everyone knows
Yeah.
what this is. And as like the one thing I think that I'm pretty firm on is that no one knows what this is.
Yeah, no one does at all, man. And everybody's a doctor on Facebook, and it's just been weird, dude, because you see like all these doctors doing their own vlogs and speaking out about it, and they're saying one thing. You got a group of doctors saying one thing, then you got a group of doctors saying another thing, and then you got mainstream media pulling the strings, really going, oh, well, this is the way that it really is. And everyone's like, oh, really? Okay, let's go that way. But it's weird because we're always taught, listen to your doctor, consult your doctor.
Right.
Well, you got a group of doctors saying one thing. That means, I guess, their people are following that advice. And then you got these doctors saying this one, well, my doctor said so. It's weird, dude.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, every decision that's being made affects our businesses one way or another. And so it's interesting.
Absolutely. Well, I don't want to spend too much on this topic, but that's the times that we're in. So I wanted to at least get your feedback on a couple things on that. But thanks for taking the time to be on my show, my highly produced podcast here in my little apartment home desk office.
Love it.
I love it too, man. It's good to see you. It's been a while.
It's been a few years, man.
It has, man. Goodness gracious, things are going crazy. You got so many cool things going on. So your marketing background, that's first and foremost. I want to talk about Tangotab first. Tangotab to me has always been, in my mind, the coolest thing that you've been a part of, and you've been a part of it for a long time. And actually, my cousin's husband is Chris Kennard.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you remember Chris?
Oh, yeah.
I got my first Tangotab invite from him. He was early stages.
Yeah, that was like, what, 2015, I think.
2015, yeah. So I came out to a location and, joined one of you guys' events, making sandwiches for the local homeless and, making the bag lunches that you guys have been doing so successfully for so long.
That's right when we started Feed the City.
Yeah. And it's blown up so big, and now you guys are in different states and even over in Africa too, right? Did you guys do a couple things in Africa?
Yeah, we have a monthly event there in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, and it's actually turning into something bigger from a food production standpoint there. So a lot of good things are happening there and in Singapore as well.
Yeah, so Tangotab is probably, in my mind, it's definitely curing hunger does not have to be so hard. And you guys are showing that we can easily fix this thing just by our everyday transactions at restaurants through an app that you guys have created. And it's really taken off. So explain a little bit about how that works so people can, get tuned into that and and get the app and start making a difference right away?
Yeah, so Tangotab actually started back in 2012 in the Dallas area, and we were focused specifically on deals for restaurants. People would actually just go to our website. There wasn't even an app when we first started. So people would go to the website, they would see a deal, maybe $10 off if you spend 20 or $30, or buy one, get one free deals. People would print the coupon off, bring it to the actual location, and that's how Tangotab started. But we always had the same culture and the same corporate social responsibility that if you use Tangotab, every time you did that, we would feed a person locally. Throughout time, and as times changed and you saw mobile apps starting developing, we knew that we had to go to the mobile side, and that's where transactions were happening a lot more. So we developed the app in 2013. In late 2013 is kind of when we got the first version out and to the public. It was still deal based. And then all of a sudden people were like, oh, wow, this is a really cool app. We started talking to bigger companies and bigger restaurant groups. And you start talking to the Chick-fil-A's of the world and Starbucks of the world. And their biggest thing is we're not deal companies, right? They might do their own offers through their own locations and stuff, but very rarely do you see them do mass produced deals. There was Starbucks, they do every once in a while, you'll see them pop on Groupon and things of that nature. But very rarely do you see anything else outside of that. So we said, how do we actually get these big restaurant groups onto our app without a deal? So we made it as a way that if restaurants pay us to be on the app, people can just simply check in, or what we call Tangotab it, and create a kind of it being a verb rather than just checking in, what people are used to. Right. And so now people can Tangotab it at local restaurants through their app. And we've been doing that since late 2014 is when we introduced that. And we've been able to now have over 100,000 restaurants on the app. People are able to still check in at restaurants. The last few months, quite honestly, have been interesting from that because people aren't dining out at restaurants. And the delivery side is a big area. We saw last week with Uber and their purchase of Postmates and how big of a player that is now. So times are interesting in that sense. There's definitely different things on the horizon that we're looking at. And the restaurant industry as a whole, though, is struggling. I mean, over 60,000 restaurants in the U.S. have closed since March 1st. Wow. So that's big.
That's staggering.
Right. And restaurants are part of our culture and part of our society, right? I mean, we have Food Network that, I mean, people literally go to cities and they're like, wow, I saw that restaurant on that show. I want to go eat there. I want to go try that dessert at that cake place, right? I mean, you look at like Carlo's Bakery and stuff in New York, and like Guy Fieri and places that he visits on diners, dive-ins, and drives, right? We don't have that. We lost a big piece of our culture with what's happening right now.
Yeah, it's wild. And I was a part of that industry for quite some time, and I just can't imagine, because you know, you get $2.13 an hour to wait tables when you live in Texas. So it's not like that in California. They give you minimum wage at least, but $2.13 in Texas, your check literally says void across it. Your paycheck 000. This paycheck is nothing. So you rely fully on tips, and I just can't imagine what my fellow server friends have had to endure during this time. I mean, so many of the servers I worked with were horrible at saving money, and they needed that next shift just to pay the light bill. You know,
for sure.
That whole mentality of, oh, well, I made it today, I'll go ahead and spend it because I'll make it again tomorrow. That kind of mentality runs rampant in that industry. And so, like, as this stuff started to happen, I started thinking about all my friends that I made over the years in that business and possibly what they could be going through. Meanwhile, me and my dad's business, home improvement, since everybody's at home, they're finding areas in their house like, oh my gosh, it's really hot by this window.
Right.
Or, you know, and people are realizing they need to get some stuff done. So my phone's been ringing like crazy. We've been super blessed with mega amounts of work. So in those times, I'm just thinking, how in the heck can I give back? And you guys have innovated quite well from your Feed the City. Try to paint the picture of what one of your Feed the City events looked like before.
We haven't done one so long. I don't remember what they look like now.
I know.
So when we first started Tangotab, one of the biggest things that we wanted to focus on was saying, hey, at least once a month, our company, we're going to not just write our checks and give back, but we're going to actually roll up our sleeves and either go to one of our food partners and give back in some way and dedicate our time with our employees. And then we were posting pictures on our social media, and our users who would follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Like, well, we want to volunteer. Can we come with you guys? So then we open it up and we would say, hey, come with us to the North Texas Food Bank, or come with us to the Soup Mobile and volunteer with us, and we'd have a certain amount of spots. Then we started looking at other ways that people can get involved. And one of our partners that we worked with was a little group called Random Acts of Kindness, and they would make these sandwiches and have these sandwich events. And they used to have maybe 20, 30 people come to the events. Then all of a sudden, when we started partnering with them, 100 people would show up, right? And this was back in 2013. And then we saw, we wanted to make a big celebration for our 2-year anniversary for Tangotab. So on 2/22, so February 22nd of 2014, we were going to celebrate our 2-year anniversary. And we said, well, people love the sandwich making event. We looked up the Guinness World Record, and we found a record for the most people making sandwiches simultaneously. So we said, let's try to break a Guinness World Record. And the event went so well. We did it here in Dallas at a local hotel, and we had 1,367 people come out to break that record. We had LaDainian Tomlinson, Terrell Owens, Mike Madonna. So we had 3 Hall of Famers. We had a local radio station and their morning show. They were the host of the event. And it was just really, really cool. We had such a great ride up. The next day in the front page of the Dallas Morning News was an entire art piece about the Guinness World Record event. And it was really cool how they did it. And it just went great. And people were like, wow, we want to do this again and stuff. I was like, well, producing a Guinness World Record event is a lot of time.
That's a lot of time,
maybe not
yeah.
at that scale, right? So a few months later, we said, what if we actually branded like some type of volunteer event and some opportunity? So in January of 2015, we said, let's launch Feed the City. We'll make it similar to that of the Guinness World Record event, smaller scale, and we'll make it on the second Saturday of every month at the same location, at the same time. People bring this stuff. But we looked at different things for volunteering opportunities that we honestly were like, man, what do people not like about it? One, that their kids can't get involved. A lot of volunteer opportunities, you have to be over 16 to get involved, right? Well, so we want something that young kids at a young age, and we instill in them like the giving back mentality when they're 3 years old, right? That they're making, like, a little kid can make a sandwich, right? I mean, it's not hard to put mustard on, right? So we made sure there was that. Then another thing that was always a roadblock was saying, wow, we can only have 20 people at this volunteer opportunity. We said, well, what if we actually make it in a way that we can have as many people as we want? So we do it at a restaurant, right, that has this huge capacity, and we can have a bunch of people come in. Then we were like, what about the atmosphere? Like, sometimes they'll play music in organizations, sometimes they won't. Let's make sure we're just pumping music, and music changes the vibe of everything. People, when you're working out, if you're working out with no music, right, all of a sudden you put music on. Like, that's why you go to a Cowboys game or a Mavericks game, and they're always playing music during the game because it keeps the energy flowing. Right. So we said, let's make sure we're always just pushing good music and music that people can sing along to. And then, like, what's another thing? And so people never drink when they when they actually volunteer. So we're at a restaurant. Why don't the restaurant make some money, and they give us like specials on Bloody Marys or mimosas, right? The only time I ever was like, hey, I'm going to drink for a good cause is if I go to a gala and I'm all dressed up, not when I'm volunteering. So we have people drinking mimosas and Bloody Marys. Not that they're just like guzzling them down like it's nighttime because it's early, but
sipping like it's a brunch or something. Yeah,
absolutely, just like a brunch type of feel. People in Dallas especially love brunch, right?
Big time.
So we brought all these things together, and that's how Feed the City was created. And we did our first one, and we made over 3,000 meals in our first one. We had probably had about 150 people show up. It was over off of 75 here locally at a local restaurant that's no longer there, unfortunately, but people started liking it. And every month more people would show up. Then we were like, okay, there's a lot of people here. So then we launched our second one out in Plano, and that one exploded. I mean, the suburban area and stuff with a bunch of kids. I mean, we
Yeah.
were having close to 350, 400 people at these events in Plano. And then we had someone say, hey, we want to start this in Fort Worth. So we launched it in Fort Worth in 2016. And that's continued to grow as well. And then all of a sudden, people in other cities, like in Houston and in Austin, and it's grown. Right before COVID, we were having 27 monthly events around the country, and a monthly event in Singapore and a monthly event in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, as well. So it's actually expanded beyond that, beyond just the U.S. borders. We had 11 more ready to go that we were going to get started, from Atlanta to Kansas City. It was like all different cities around the country that were getting going with it, but then COVID hit, so we had to pivot, and we had to change things up at that moment.
So what does that look like now? You guys are doing a delivery service, a food delivery service. Is that just one team in a van, or what does that look like?
So what we're doing now, we said one of our biggest things was, wow, this has become such a passionate project, not just only for us, from a Feed the City perspective, but it became passionate for people in our city and in our communities, that it became a staple, like for people to do this on an every week, monthly basis with their kids. Some people every week, they go to different ones around the city.
Mm-hmm.
So kept going back and forth.
They're so much fun.
And I was driving to the office one day, and this was probably when COVID started kind of rolling around. They started doing like the quarantine, and restaurants were closing and stuff like that. And we had to make a decision on, do we just not do anything? And I'll never forget, I was driving down the highway to the office, and I was on the phone with my girlfriend, and I said, man, I feel like this is out of our control. We can't do anything. And it just kept running in my mind. I was like, but at the end of the day, this is what's happening right now with our society. When there's a recession of any kind, no matter what level, more people are in need. And the things that they're in need of are like their bills. And one of the biggest needs is food, and where they're going to get that next meal.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the same case for this. I mean, we saw videos of the San Antonio Food Bank, and we saw videos here of the North Texas Food Bank and other food banks from around the country and food organizations. And their lines were just outrageous. Hundreds of people that never thought they would have to go get food from these places. And we said, we need to do something. So we have all of our volunteer leaders for Feed the City events. So we put it out there to them and said, hey, if you want to host a drop-off event, we'll say, hey, we'll be out here from this time to this time. The people that usually come to Feed the City can bring food, right? So we've been doing that. And at this point, we've collected over 45,000 pounds of food, just from these events, on a weekly basis. So we have different events in different cities, every single weekend. Now, actually, this week, we said, let's change it back up. Because one of the biggest things, as you see some areas opening up, some areas still staying closed, we started getting messages, we want to volunteer, we still want to give back. And even though we love the drop off because it's able to produce a lot of food, it still lost the activity part for the individual participating. Right. So at that point, we had to make another decision and said, what is something that we can do? So literally this week, Saturday will be our first time that we're accepting it. It's called Feed the City, Pack It Up, Drop It Off. So we gave them a list of items to pack up in brown lunch bags. So we're having them like, hey, do it at your home. Like pack up a water bottle, a bag of chips, a granola bar, and an applesauce cup or a tuna pouch. That's easy accessible for people that maybe they don't have can openers or anything. And so they pack those up and write a message on the actual bag. So they have an actual activity at home that they can do with their family, right? So getting their kids involved still. So they're able to pack up as many bags as they can and bring it to one of our drop-off locations. So we have 4 locations this weekend. Throughout the month, we're gonna have, right now we're at 22 different locations as we move forward. And we've been getting people saying, hey, can we have a drop-off location at our church? Can we have a drop-off location here? So this is going to continue to expand.
Wow,
and this is what
that's
we're going to be doing
awesome.
for the time being. And I think it'll be a great way for people to still send in pictures and get their families involved, and the people that live in their residence.
Man, that's so amazing, and people don't realize how bad the hunger issue is right here in America, in our own country, in our own
Yeah.
backyard. You know, people, you can't even imagine. The numbers are staggering. I don't want to try to repeat the numbers because the last numbers that I got from you guys was from 4 years ago. And I was so grateful to be able to work on a video with you guys. That was super fun. And volunteering at quite a few of your events. It's been fantastic to watch you guys grow and adapt and innovate and expand and impact so many lives. So simply put, everybody download the Tangotab app on your phone. Look at all the restaurants they have in there, and whenever you
When you
go to
go
the
pick
restaurant,
up, if you're
anything,
30%, if you're 50%, 75%, just all you do is Tangotab it at the location.
just Tangotab it. Just open that app up and say, "Yo, I'm here," and then every single time you do that, when you pay for your bill, a portion of that goes to feed somebody. So you're giving back, just making your normal transactions.
Absolutely.
It's so awesome. I love it. Now, social responsibility is a big thing for you. Pretty much, actually, in all your businesses, all the business affairs that you have going on, there's always a social responsibility piece. And more and more businesses are seeing they need to do business that way, figuring out how they can help the communities with their blessings, with their profit, and give more of a give back model. Still, you got to make profit. Absolutely, we all know that business is for making a profit, but figuring out how to leverage some of that profit to help and also grow your business at the same time. So you're a big advocate for social responsibility, and you have a couple different companies that are doing some cool things. What is That's Just Good, your hat? You were telling me about that.
Yeah. So actually, through my time at Feed the City, I met an individual. His name is Dion Harrison. He actually runs our Feed the City event up in Frisco. It's our largest one, and him and I just meshed. Like he came to a Feed the City event out in Plano in 2017. And he literally followed me after the event to make sure that we were actually dropping the food off at an organization, not just swinging by the dump. And he has one of the most incredible stories that we still share to this day from his experience. And it's been incredible. And both of us are super focused, and we both believe that business is the way to solve social problems.
Yeah.
There's some great nonprofits in the world, don't get me wrong. And I think nonprofits are the hands and feet to help eradicate that. But funding to solve these problems comes from a sustainable solution. And that's where corporate social responsibility comes into play. I mean, you look at a company like Coca-Cola and how much money that they make. They literally, if they wanted to, and they cut out some of their profits, within the next 5 to 10 years, they can solve the world's water problem and make sure that people have fresh water access all around the world.
Of course they could.
Like one company can do that, but they're not. So our goal is to say, hey, how can we bring corporate social responsibility to the forefront? And things that are happening in our society right now are, I guess, perpetuating that a little bit quicker, which is awesome. But one of the biggest questions that people have as business owners or even in divisions of their companies are saying, but what do we do? How does it become sustainable? Right. So, I mean, corporate social responsibility for many companies 4 years ago might have been saying, oh, tonight we'll donate 10% back on our Tuesday night to this local organization. It was a fundraising thing, right? And that's good. That's great to support, like maybe like a local high school, and they would consider that as corporate social responsibility. But corporate social responsibility really drives into the culture of the brand as a whole. And not saying that everyone needs the Tom Shoes model or Warby Parker model or even Tangotab model, that every transaction is going to mean something good.
Right.
Right. It's making sure that businesses stay in that conversation. developing that type of culture internally. So actually Dion, where he works, recently also became the chief diversity officer. They just
Oh,
announced,
cool. I love
right? So
that.
he just brought on a huge role for himself, which is talking about that directly in his company. So between both of us and our experiences with social responsibility through business, we said, what if we actually came together and we're like, man, there's going to be a project one day that we both work on. So we are building right now. That's just good. And I mean, it's still right now in the phase that we're just blasting stuff out on social media from just a content perspective. Website will be live by next week. And we're going to have a 3-phase process that we're looking at. And phase 1 is taking events similar to that of Feed the City, but bringing them to corporations and having all these different types of causes that their teams can get involved in. And then we're also building a giving platform for businesses to implement with their employees and different ways to give back. So that's our phase 2. And then we'll also be doing consulting for brands to make sure that they understand how to implement this structure, right? You look at a company like AT&T, they have a whole division that's dedicated to this.
Right.
But if you look at a small and medium-sized business, they don't, right? AT&T is such a national brand, international brand,
Yeah.
right? They are such a huge brand. They're making an impact internationally, right? With so many different projects from education to things with like, they're one of the main reasons why Tom Shoes even was able to launch how they did. But what about the small businesses that want to be able to give back on a regular basis? What about the medium-sized business that has 50 to 100 employees, and how do they implement that, right? So helping them, they don't have the extra funds to hire someone to come in, or for someone come in full time on that, right? So we're going to be able to implement different strategies and lay out a playbook for them to be better on that.
That's cool. So you just building a sustainable model that can just be implemented into the business model, like its own little working system, so it can operate as part of the business. So giving is built in. It's not like a
Absolutely.
conscious, okay, I got to figure out how to give back. It's already part of your business model, and you're helping
Absolutely.
businesses understand that. I love that, dude. That's awesome. That's very cool. And you said the website's launching next week?
It will be next week that it's going to be coming out. So the week of July July 13th.
So your background's mostly in marketing, and I don't think Andre Angel, the CEO of Tangotab, could have found a better person to spearhead this initiative. Man, your charisma and the way you lead people, and just watching you at those events, and how much you care, dude, and with every single thing you do, I've always admired that about you. I thought you were just it's so cool to watch you in a crowd of people, dude. They're just like, yeah, Nick. And you're like, we're going to do this. Everyone's like, yeah, let's do that. Woohoo. We're going to feed India. You know, it's
Right.
really awesome. How did you and Andre meet?
We actually met back in December of 2011, and we were at a local morning breakfast. They had a speaker there, and someone mentioned about that this guy was starting a company that was called Tangotab, and I really had no idea what it was at the time. I had no idea technically. I just knew at the time that my dream job was to be the chief marketing officer at Tom Shoes one day of my life, and I was 23 at the time, and I was like, I'm probably going to move to California in the next few months. Well, apply to Tom's, get a job there, move to California, and then just work my way up. Like, I didn't even care if I started out as the janitor there, and I had to just work my way through the trenches to make it up that ladder. And then a few weeks after I met Andre, one of my business mentors reached out to me, and I was laying in bed with strep throat. It was January 9th of 2012. And I get a phone call saying, hey, that guy that's launching a company, Tangotab, is looking for someone on the marketing side to launch with. And I was 23 at the time, and I was like, all right, I'll hear about it, because I knew it was about hunger and stuff. I didn't really know too much about it. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait, this is like the dining version and food version of Tom Shoes. And it's in Dallas. Okay, cool. I don't have to move to California. And I started weighing like all my options. And at the time I was in a corporate role. I mean, I had the corporate job. fresh out of college. I was excelling in that very well. I had all the benefits that you can think of. At the time, I was paying like $20 total for my health insurance and dental combined. Like, I mean,
Wow.
just like had that security in the corporate job. I was like, cool, yes, I'm out of
Yeah.
college. And then I said, wait, I don't know if this opportunity is going to ever present itself again. And so I was like, wait, okay, let's see what they're offering. I was like, okay, they're offering less than what I'm making. Okay, I'm on my own insurance now. All right, it's a startup. I don't know if they're going to even be around in a year. We'll see what happens. And I was like, well, if they're not around in a year, at that time I'll be 24 and I can get another job and stuff. I'm still young and I'll have some experience under my belt. So I gave up the higher paying job. I gave up the benefits. I gave up what I was excelling in and said, let's go to the startup and give it a try. And 8 years later, I'm still there.
Wow. You probably, I guess, did a little research on Andre, and you're like, you know what?
Yeah.
This business might stick around quite a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Based
That,
on his success in the past, like definitely
yeah,
helped mitigate that risk. I cannot say that if it was just one of my buddies that came up with the idea that I would have made the same jump at the time.
yeah,
But that definitely helped it, I guess.
yeah, absolutely, man. He's had quite the track record, and you couldn't a better human being you couldn't find. Well, I mean that you're amazing too, but Andre is like he's a one of a kind, man. I've met a lot of people, and he is just one heck of a dude, and
Right.
super cares
Yeah.
and always trying to figure out, this next business I wanted to help this group of people, or so like the epitome of entrepreneur, man. That dude's solution oriented, and he's really awesome. And you have another media company as well, yeah?
Yeah. So, I mean, just throughout that time and stuff and learning from underneath Andre, and we definitely have a father-son relationship. So, I mean, everything is not, everyone probably thinks, oh man, they just have the perfect picture, perfect. But let me tell you, I mean, as an entrepreneur, what people don't realize, I mean, you face the highs of the highs, but you do face the lows of the lows.
Yeah,
And don't get me wrong, working in a corporate job and everything, there's more security and stuff. And there are definitely highs and there's definitely lows in that realm. But when you're in the entrepreneur role in the startup realm, it's, hey, you know what? Like if we're not doing this right, we're going to be the ones not eating tomorrow.
right.
Right. And so, I
Yeah,
mean, we've definitely faced so many lows during that no one knows about or that no one sees and stuff because we can't show that. Like our goal is saying, hey, we always have to look at the end goal. We have to look at why we started this in the first place to get you through those ruts. And I mean, honestly, I've seen people come and go. I've seen startups over the last 8 years. People enter the market and exit the market. Competitors doing the same thing or people in other industries, and it's not made for everyone,
no,
right? So but I've definitely learned a lot from Andre, and it's like sparked me to always want to start. I've always been kind of an entrepreneur from a young age. Like even I bought my own Sega Genesis because my parents couldn't afford it when I was 6 years old, by running a home run derby contest in my neighborhood with tennis balls and baseball bats and charging all the
yes,
kids in my neighborhood $5 each. Got 20 kids to do it. That was $100. And then my parents and I went to the grocery store and bought some snacks, and I made like a little concession, and I sold snacks while the home run derby was happening. And that's how I bought Mortal Kombat, Sonic the Hedgehog, NBA Jam, and my Sega Genesis, and RBI Baseball 4 from Funko Land. If anyone remembers
I
that,
remember
was
Funko.
Funko
Yeah,
Land.
dude.
GameStop bought them out years
Yeah,
ago, but
yeah,
yeah, I never forget. I bought it at the one in Mesquite, Texas. So I always had that mentality and knew I was going to always start my own things. And my first one, I had started a blog when I was in 2011 when I was at the corporate job prior to Tangotab called the Revolving Mind, and I would post different blogs about marketing and do videos. Chick-fil-A. One of my favorite condiment packages is the Chick-fil-A ketchup one, right? That you can peel back, that Heinz did, and then you
yeah.
can tear it to squeeze it. That packet launched on National Fry Day because everything in culture has a national day now. But
Right.
launched on National Fry Day in 2011 through Chick-fil-A, and I did a video standing outside of a Chick-fil-A talking about this ketchup package, and people were driving behind me. I could probably find the video too, and posted
That's
that. And
awesome.
people were like, "Why are you doing this type of stuff?" I mean, just from that blog alone, I was offered 6 different jobs in 2011 just because of my blog. People were like, "Wow,
Really?
this kid knows what he's talking about." And stuff from a marketing perspective, let's throw out job
Yeah.
offers and stuff, right? Or
Yeah.
bring them in for interviews. And so always had that. And then when I started at Tangotab, I did some consulting on the side and with individuals, and always still had this passion for marketing. And I mean, still do. I mean, it's what I do on a daily basis. One of the clients I was doing consulting for and was on a board for, I met this other guy around my age named Aaron Zach, and he was becoming the youngest NFL agent at the time. So in 2016, he left the agency he was at and said, "Hey, I'm representing these players. Would you want to come in and help them build their charities, help them with endorsement deals and stuff?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" We started that in June of 2016, and about a month and a half in, brands that we started working with were asking us, "Hey, do you guys do websites? And do you guys do this?" And I was like, "That's my background." So we started doing marketing for local businesses
Wow.
and
That's
with
cool.
brands. And then we ended up growing Revolving Mind. Now we have a staff of 11 individuals. And it's
Do you
grown. And
really? That
yeah,
blog's
so
still running to this day?
well, it's not a blog now. So we took the name of the blog, The Revolving Mind. I was like, I
Yeah.
still have all this stuff, right? Let's call it Revolving Mind Media. And
Yeah.
so now Revolving Mind Media became a company in 2016 and has been going strong since.
Wow, that's freaking awesome, dude. What year was it that you got the 30 what was it? The Texan 30 under 30
Yeah, that
recognition?
was in 2000. That was in 2016 by Culture Map. I was named as one of the top Texans under the age of 30 years old. So they chose, I think it was like maybe like 20 individuals, like 5 from the Dallas area, 5 from the Houston area, 5 from the Austin area, and 5 from the San Antonio area.
How many athletes are you guys working with right now?
Right now we're right under 20. I think we're at 18 or 19.
Mostly NFL or a little bit of.
So we started out with all NFL, and now we do the endorsement deals for individuals like Kawhi Leonard and Dennis Smith Jr.
Do you know a gentleman by the name of Ray Goff?
Name sounds very familiar.
He's a consultant. I think represents maybe like 10 NFL players. He's also got a tech company, but he lives here locally. I'm talking to him about doing windows on his house, and I showed up at his house, and he's got this sports stuff laying around, and I'm like, "What do you do, man?" And he starts telling me the same thing, helping NFL players with financial planning and a whole bunch of that cool stuff. Maybe there's a good connection there. I might need to connect you guys.
Right.
You say you have 11 employees for Revolving Mind now?
Yeah, so there's everything from an SEO specialist to web design, account managers, and business development.
Wow, that's freaking rad, dude. What else you got going on, man?
I think that's all I have time for. No, so, actually, with Andre in 2018, we all started another company called Cures Functional Health. So
yeah,
my
that's what I
background
wanted to
on
bring
that.
up next. Yeah.
Yeah, so we started that in 2018. So Andre's better half, his fiance, is one of the top counselors in North Texas, and she's been crushing it. And she's always had this brainchild that she said mental health stems from multiple different disciplines. Like people's mental health isn't just because they have a brain dysfunction. There could be something else wrong with inside of their body, and it's all based on the nervous system. And we've seen over the last decade how many individuals have relied on opioids and different meds to try to help, quote unquote, solve their problems. And they're not really problem solvers. They just kind of like ease the pain for the time being while the meds are working. All right.
Yeah.
So what she's always seen is that it stems from inside of your nervous system. So it's your body, it's your gut, what you're putting into your body from an eating perspective, and then also how you are from a mental discipline standpoint. So we launched Cures Functional Health. So it brings together chiropractic, nutrition and mental health therapists. And it's really cool to see this brand grow, because we've grown it from 0 locations to now 8 locations, and we're going to be bringing on 2 more by the end of the month. And we see this at anywhere from 25 to 30 by the end of the year, all in the North Texas area and maybe a couple outside of that area. But it's growing so much, and seeing the disciplines and just seeing a chiropractor working with their patient with a nutritionist or with a mental health therapist or a mental health therapist, seeing maybe this relationship in this couple, they're having there's some things happening in this relationship, but a lot of it might be stemming from a pain that someone has because inside their back, and no one's never noticed that on a day-to-day basis. Or maybe they're eating something that is not balancing them correctly, right? So it's pretty incredible to see people being transformed literally in front of our eyes.
Yeah, that's fantastic, man. And my wife is in school to be a counselor. She's at UNT. This is her senior year. She graduates in December.
Shout out.
Yeah, she's very, very passionate about that. And a few years ago, I was on the opening team for the Frisco Fine Art Gallery in downtown Frisco. And I invited Angel, and he and his fiance came out, and we stood around talking for quite some time. And he was telling me about this when it was in the conceptual stage, before the first location even popped up. And of course, my wife was there. I think then fiance. Yeah, we weren't even married yet. And his fiance and my fiance started talking, and they exchanged information. And she was like, yeah, whenever it wasn't even on my wife's mind to go back to school. It's something she always wanted to do. She got her associates years ago and then just stopped going when the kids started coming, So I did a lot of encouraging over the last year and a half, like, go back to school. That's what you want to do. You want to help people. You want to, help people through your own experiences. So it's cool that it's growing like that. And my wife is almost finished with her thing, and maybe they can reconnect. And
absolutely,
that's what she wants to do, man. And you guys are taking it to a whole different level, because the food that we eat and all that stuff has so much chemicals. People talk about there's the chemical imbalance in your brain. Well, let's look at the chemicals we're putting in our body.
Absolutely.
And seeing how that could be playing a huge factor in mental health. And you mentioned opioids, and that becomes that's a epidemic. That's a crisis. So I'm very excited for what you guys are doing, man. I'm super proud of you guys. It's so cool to watch. I follow along. I'm always clicking the like button. You know what I mean?
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And sharing stuff whenever I can. And it's just it's good to see a group of people that deeply care, creating sustainable solutions and sticking to it. It's really good to see. So thank you.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. And I think it's also just a testament to the cultures that we build inside of these companies, that it's never about the profit first. It's always about the people first, and making sure that we look at the end user, whether it's on the Tangotab side and who we're providing the meal for. That's just good, getting people involved, or even with Revolving Mind. I mean, we are so focused on doing things with our clients that make sure that they're doing things in the community and giving back, and just focused on them. And then you look at Curious, and it's helping individuals. It might not be like from a charity perspective or something, but we see people, like every person that comes into our office is not coming there because everything is going great. On the chiropractic side, somebody is in major pain in their back. Someone from the nutrition side, someone is not happy maybe with what their body looks like. On the mental health side, people are coming in there depressed. Like there are people in there like that are probably contemplating if they want to take their own life. And suicide is like such a huge thing, right? So I mean, our therapists are individuals that are like literally changing lives. So I mean, even from my end, like that, I'm not the one talking to our patients.
Right.
I know that when we're putting out messaging, like when they come here, like we have individuals that are caring for them, and they are like putting them first and foremost. And like you said, even about your wife, the reason why she's getting her degree in that is because she wants to help people. So it's
Yeah.
comforting to know that the work that myself and my team does for it is resulting in something in long term. That's really what drives us and keeps us going.
Yeah, absolutely. Does insurance cover that?
I mean, every provider is different. So we have providers that are out of network, and we do have providers that are in network for all different facets. So definitely
Very cool. I'm going to have to look
depends
into
on
that.
it. It always depends on your insurance. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool, man. I'm going to have to look into that because I got some serious back issues going on and it's affecting me. I fell off a ladder about a year ago and
oh
I've
yeah.
been very, man, stubborn. I'm not going to go to the doctor. I'll just walk it off. It'll be fine. You know what I mean?
And
And now I'm still like, I feel it. And I'm like, oh gosh, I gotta do something, but I don't know. Like, okay, if I'm just having really weird pains every once in a while, what's a doctor gonna do? Like, that's what I'm confused about. So I think maybe a good first step would be go see some of you guys.
hey, doctors are great, but they usually are looking at the symptoms.
Yeah.
Our individuals here, we focus fully on the root cause of what's stemming that. So that's one thing that I love. I mean, small things that I even know from even a chiropractic standpoint. When if I had a cough or if I had like a small cold and I'm coughing, how
Mhm.
much your back gets out of alignment from coughing all the time, right?
Yeah.
So I'd have them adjust me afterward, or I'd have them adjust me. And some of the reasons that you're still coughing is because of your alignment, actually, and it's causing that. Or even with allergies and your puffiness up in here and here and here, right? There's
Mhm.
different things that they do. We call it the thumper. But they'll do
I
the
like
thumper
that.
right here, and it just like eases so much stress and from your actual like face and stuff.
Very
It's
cool.
it's crazy. There's so much stuff that I've learned.
What's the website for that? For
That'd
Curus?
be Go Curis. So Gocuris, and Curis in Catalan means wellness.
Awesome. Tangotab, of course, tangotab.com.
Yep,
Get the
on the
app.
Google Play Store and the App Store. So
Absolutely. And revolving mind.
revolvingmindmedia.com. And then next week you'll be able to go to that'sjustgood.com and get all of our information for that.
I love it. Fantastic, man. Any last words you want to say of hope and inspiration to our
Some
fellow
hope and
Americans?
some hope and inspiration. I'll say that everything in life is a season. There's nothing ever that is going to be there forever. So we're just in a season right now. It might be a little bit longer than some, but know that we'll get through it. And apparently, our companies are a good resource to help you get through some situations. So
Heck yeah, man. I bet The Tipping Point is one of your favorite books, isn't it?
I love it. I love the tipping point.
I knew
Yep.
it. I knew it. Very cool, man. Well, hey, thanks again for taking the time to jump on with me and have this cool conversation. And I love it. That's just a good thing. And implementing a system of giving back for businesses is really, really, really freaking awesome. So let's stay in touch, man. It's been too long. I want to see how I can get more involved. And now that I'm building a local business with my dad and really wanting to position ourselves as a beacon in the community and a household name, helping homeowners save money on their bills with energy efficient windows and all that jazz. I want to figure out how we can implement that giving back model and how we can do
For
more
sure.
good. So let's keep the
Absolutely.
conversation going, man. I appreciate you very much.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, brother. Have a good evening.
You too.
Peace. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. This episode was so much fun to do, and I just love doing this. And I want to thank you for those of you who have been downloading the episodes and sharing with your friends. And I'm not reaching a whole lot of people right now, but you got to start somewhere. Like Gary Vaynerchuk says, everybody starts with 0 followers. And the whole point of this show is to talk about things that can make a change in your personal life, your business life, things that can just help you on a mental level, on a spiritual level, on an emotional level, just an overall wholeness of being and adopting different philosophies and sharing different philosophies. That's what this show is all about. Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher. You can get the episode all over the place. So please take some time, thumb through some of the episodes, listen, share, and help me spread the message of good cheer. Peace. Thanks for tuning in, guys. You guys have a great day.